Not every money is good money. You have to be aware of that. There are some opportunities that make you a slave. I lead with value first, and I'm a believer that if we need to work together, I would prove that I can definitely help. Taking action is super important, and just finding a way to do it consistently. So it's not so much about the type of content. You definitely want to do video, 100%.
This is the Content Capitalists Podcast. We talk to business owners who've used video to grow their businesses to $1 million a year or more. How they did it, what worked, what didn't. Welcome to the Content Capitalists with your host, Ken Okazaki.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Content Capitalist Podcast, where I have conversations with people, business owners who are doing $1 million or more in their business. Now, I've got a guest with me today who I've met in late 2022 and around the end of September. We're at an event called Traffic and Conversions. They had brought their entire team from South America, and this was these guys just had this great vibe about them. Now, dug a little bit deeper. They're involved with helping agency owners not only develop and grow their business and revenue, but also their lives. So Karen, welcome to the show. Start us off by telling us a bit of a snapshot of what you do. What kind of people do you help?
Yeah, absolutely. So our focus is agency owners, as you mentioned, but more than that is how do we create stability in such an unstable world? I feel like that's definitely a big goal, and sometimes you have to set some crazy goals to make a difference. And for us, just knowing that there is an opportunity to make an impact, not only through the work that we do through digital marketing, but also, through like the mindset that we have, how we treat our teams, how do we continue to create opportunities for people to grow and feel supported. And that's really what we want to accomplish with anything that we do, right? So like whether it is our commitment summit or as a conference or our digital marketing agency, we're hyper focused on helping our clients, our teams, ourselves, of course, and our families, because at the end of the day, everything that we do in our business will translate into our personal lives.
Amazing. And I think that if you're listening to this, and I'm speaking to the listener here, and you're a digital media agency owner or any type of agency owner, then this is the one that you're going to want to bookmark. If you can't listen to it now, then you want to come back to this, because I know that what these guys do works. They've got I don't know how many, but raving fans and reviews and people who've gone through the program. Could you tell us a little bit about the mechanism for how you take people through this process? For example, courses, events, both. I'm really curious.
Absolutely. So the first thing I think it's important for us anytime that we're looking to connect with agency owners is really to understand where they're at. So the best way to do that we have found is through in person, like just getting experiences together. And something that we're really focused on in those in-person events is just being able to have those conversations where we help you through strategy calls first. And our goal there is really to see, hey, is there an opportunity for me to help you right now? Is there a tool, maybe an SOP, a tactic, something that I've experienced with that I can just give you in this call? That's honestly, like I'm one of those people that I lead with value first. And then I'm a believer that if we need to work together, then I would prove, that I can definitely help. And we help in different ways. We have our mastermind. So after we go through that strategy call, we actually invite people to our offices in Nicaragua. We call them agency intensives. And the cool part about that is that we're able to really hone into that strategy call. Like after we went through a couple of things and I asked questions about different areas of their business, then we're able to come together and work on those areas in person here in Nicaragua. I think having our team here and being able to talk to people that are actually doing what you're focusing on is super powerful, because I feel like as entrepreneurs and agency owners, some of us are very vision oriented. And sometimes we need that detail oriented person to talk to about a process, about something that we're really wanting to hone in our business. So having that opportunity of coming to Nicaragua and working together in that is huge. And then the next step for me is how do we keep you accountable for all the strategies that we put in place together, not only from our first call, but the plan that we make inside of those 2 days that we call the agency intensive, and then putting that into practice on a daily basis, on a monthly basis through our mastermind program. So that's really how we help agency owners today. That's our focus. So anybody that is, whether you're, just normally like around like 30, 40, 60K right now in terms of recurring revenue, that I feel like those are the people that really, really need that tactical help. And then when you're further than that in your journey, then it's a matter about networking and connections, and then you end up focusing on the bigger purpose and the bigger picture, right? I feel like that's where we all go when it comes into business. So like finding a way to help where you're at in your journey, I think it's the best thing for that is to be able to create that opportunity of personalization that allows you to like, it allows us to extract, those needs to be able to provide a solution for.
Amazing. Now, everything you said there, you're speaking my language because, when we met, I was actually promoting some hardware. It's a new company I launched. But my bread and butter, what we do is we are a digital media agency. We create hundreds of videos, maybe sometimes thousands every single month for our clients. So I'm going to be asking questions, not only because I'm trying to serve the audience, but a little bit selfishly too, because I'm an agency owner and I'm so glad that I'm going to be making it. By the way, for the event that we have coming up, I'm bringing my son with me, who's the chief of operations in my agency, and he's doing that so that I get to do cool stuff like what you just described. No, sorry, like this other business that I'm doing. But I'm so looking forward to it. I'm going to have him sit into everything and absorb. Now, side note also, when we met, your husband was there too, and I want to know because my wife used to work with me in my agency, and she supports in a smaller way now, but she was much more involved.
Yeah.
Between the two of you, what's that dynamic like? And this is I'm
Oh
asking
my
this
God.
because this is my life. And like, what's your superpower? What's his superpower? What's it like working with him? And how do you make it work?
I feel like it's that is crucial to understand what our superpowers are from the beginning. It's what it's going to, in any relationship, it's really what's going to allow the success of that, because you're able to focus on the strengths, and then if you have a weakness, but the other person has that as a strength, then like you can complement each other. I think for us, JC is definitely very much the visionary and more the detail oriented person, so that is definitely a great thing when it comes to complementing each other. The tricky part about that is that we are definitely opposites. And so understanding that we view situations in life in a different way, and it's very important when it comes to communication, right? So like when we're faced, especially when you're facing issues, because I think when things are great, everybody's happy, right? Like everybody is like, if you're in a honeymoon, then everybody, it's only love. But what really puts the test, I guess, on relationships is those like difficult times. And if you're able to overcome them, that just makes your relationship so much stronger. For us, being able to understand like, okay, you see things this way and I see things this way, and understanding who needs to make a decision, it's crucial. So that way we're able to respect, each other's ideas and viewpoints, and also move forward. I think one of the things that will just destroy, honestly, any relationship is dwelling too much on an issue and not looking to create the next step in order to solve things. And also, I've learned that it's good to have areas for each other, right? So, like, my area is our events and our mastermind. His area is our digital marketing agency. And in both areas, we have our own responsibilities and also like areas of power, I guess, where we are the ones making the decisions. And that allows us to respect those areas and just, okay, this is your area, this is the decision we're making, let's complement each other, let hear my thoughts too. But at the end of the day, there are some decisions that you have to make as the owner of that area because it's your responsibility. So that has worked for us, but honestly, I'm always working through it.
Yeah, it's never a finished thing. I mean, if it was finished, one of you would be dead. That's the only way it's going to finish, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I want to take a minute and take us back to before you were full on digital media agency trainer. Like right now you help other people. I'm going to guess that you had some stage where you had to figure this out on your own. You had your mentors, you had your struggles. Could you take us back to how you got into this? Were you born an entrepreneur selling candy at school, or did you come into it through a different way?
I feel like I am definitely the accidental entrepreneur that people speak about, and JC is definitely that natural entrepreneur. I definitely wasn't the one thinking, oh, like I'm gonna build a company. I was more of like, this is like I wanted to do architecture and other stuff that doesn't normally like translate into like having an agency. Sometimes it's more working together, building something with other people. And I think in both journeys, I've worked for people and then I've also like led. And in both things, I think I've seen my strengths and weaknesses. I would say that my favorite part though of this whole experience has been being able to work next to people that have the same values and have the same goals. And when you can find that mix, it's so amazing to see the things that you can accomplish together. That's really what motivates us. At the end of the day, our mission is to like create an impact in Latin America, and the only way that we can do that is by serving others and by partnering with others too, if we want to really grow and create a big impact. And so and that's something that I've learned in this journey, that a lot of people are cautious about partnering, and cautious about with a reason, right? Like you have to like be able to find good partners. But some people are to the point where like I cannot share what I'm doing with a competitor because I'm afraid that they're going to steal this, and things like that. And honestly, I believe that if we come from a mindset of abundance, then we're able to do great things. But if you come from a mindset of like, oh, like that type of like scarcity, that this is the only thing, at the end of the day, we're not making anything new, and people are going to buy from you because they like and trust you. And that is something that nobody can steal from you.
Amazing. And I'm curious to know, what were you doing before you got involved with this business with your husband? What's your like previous career?
My background, I was a Salesforce implementator. So I worked for, and in fact, I was an agency before I started implementing a Salesforce. I was an operations manager there. And then I really love systems and processes and how this can really help you to achieve things and create that stability. Where you don't have to think about every single decision. It's once you set it, once you have it, it's a ever growing thing, right? You can actually create a machine out of your processes. So that has been my focus. That is the detail oriented side of me,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy just taking problems and trying to come up with solutions.
Yeah, I love it. Now, I know that right now you guys are working together and you're probably, like, shoulder to shoulder with your husband in this business in a lot of ways. Uh, there must have been like, I know it happened for my wife, and this is why I'm personally curious. There was a shift from when she was an employee to working with me as a business owner, and the amount of money you're dealing with is so different. Like, like before you saw your salary, you could imagine it's going to kind of cap out at this level maybe after 10 or 15 years. But now when you're running a business, it is literally unlimited, but it's also unlimited how low it could go if you if you don't do it right. Could you tell me, was there like an adjustment period for you, like thinking about money differently with actually generating wealth versus earning a wage?
Yes, for sure. I mean, my background, I come from a third world country. My parents, like I didn't grow up like having like everything in life, but I didn't grow up having nothing in life, so I was really grateful of that beginning, because it really taught me what really matters. At the end of the day, if I look back, I was never unhappy. If in my childhood, I never really needed anything more than having supportive and present parents. And so that's really what it's important to me. That said, obviously that creates some I think just being a little bit scared of taking, and maybe as a woman too, just being scared about, like making big investments. I've definitely learned that sometimes you have to invest, to like be able to win. And also I've learned, like when you do invest, there's two sides of that, you can win and lose. And so being cautious with that, I think it's probably more on my side. JC is definitely more the one that, it's getting us out there and focuses on that bigger picture and mission. I think it's something that I'm just constantly working through, of like, okay, like, and just trying to like make decisions based on facts and not emotions. That's something that I have learned, because at the end of the day, when you look back into the decision, you have to be sure on how you made it, and making a decision based on, like too much excitement or even like being scared, that doesn't help, as you're going through that the journey.
Absolutely. Now, I want to move on real soon to what you're doing now and what's working. But before I do, I have one final question out of curiosity. Now, you mentioned third world country where you grew up, Nicaragua. And if you're comfortable sharing, what was a third world income for you, like when in your previous career, like in terms of dollars?
Yeah. So funny enough, I graduated from a university in Arkansas. I got a scholarship. It was a full ride, so I was able to like go there for school, got amazing education, came back to as part of my contract in the scholarship, I had to come to give back to my community. So I came back, and my first job was paying me $300 a month.
Wow.
And it was like one of those jobs from like 7 to 6, so like long hours, 30-minute lunch break. So definitely not what I was expecting, graduating from a university in the States. I was there for 3 months before I moved into my next job opportunity. But those 3 months, it definitely taught me like to humble,
Mm-hmm.
like when you graduate, you think that you're that you think like everybody needs to hire you and that you need to make all this money. And when I came back, honestly, I focused more on like, how can I get into a job ASAP? How can I get experience right now? And that was the first one that I got. And I graduated from interior design, funny enough. So I actually was working, not even as an intern, it was like actually a full-time role for this architect, and just helping with like just purchasing, and interiors and furniture. And that was what I was got paid. But it definitely taught me a lot, and to see that progress, from like what we were able to afford, even when we were like our first year of marriage, we had a lot of adversity. We lost a lot of houses. Like I can tell you about that story at another time, but those moments really teach you a lot of like who you are and what you're about and what really matters in life, and the things that you should be working towards. And I think I always look back at those days as like amazing reminders of, like whatever you're at in life today, the fact that you have a roof over your head, you are healthy, the fact that like have your family, that you have food. I don't know, like just like the things that most of the world is it's fighting to get. Gratitude, I think, definitely comes to my mind.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you're so fortunate to have the opportunity to go to the U.S., get a full ride education, and if I'd imagine if for the people who work with you or who you're surrounded by in your business, your story must be so inspirational for how you went from where you were and did the best with everything you had. I'm already inspired right now just hearing that. I want to move into talking about what you're doing right now, helping digital agencies. And let's start with there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the ugly. What's the biggest mistakes that you're seeing people make that you feel just like yelling into a pillow saying stop doing it right now? Like, and I'm sure we've all made these mistakes ourselves, but you working with digital agency owners, you probably see it more than most people. What are the biggest mistakes?
I think the biggest mistake that I've seen in my life in the digital marketing space is not so much about the product side, but more about like when you're building a business, like what are the foundations that you're setting up. And I think sometimes the toughest lessons, um, you learn them after a while. And for me, it has been trusting, actually not trusting my instinct. I realize, like when I'm making decisions, if I have any hesitant, like if I'm hesitating in any way or any doubt, I need to understand why that is happening. And so like trusting my instinct, I think that's crucial for as we're building the business. And then obviously that not every money is good money. You have to be aware of that. In some ways, there's some opportunities that actually make you a slave, and understanding that from the beginning, and using your discernment, to be able to make those decisions. It's one of the things that I've learned through, very, very rough lessons, like working with people, just making, partnerships that maybe we shouldn't have made. And it's one of those things that you only learn through that experience. And like once you learn it, you're definitely like very cautious in the next time that something like that presents to yourself.
Did you learn this yourself through your own experience or from watching others?
No, definitely from my experience. There's moments where I was like, yeah, like this would be a great opportunity. You think about all of the things that you can do.
Just to make this real, could you give us one example of a time that happened?
Yeah. I actually, we partner up in a business with somebody that great individual, very successful, definitely somebody that, eh, is accomplishing even today a lot of stuff. So excited for her, but I realized, quickly enough that, hey, like this person like doesn't correlate even in terms of like what I really want to put out in the world. And we actually synced up very well in terms of value. So that was like a difficult thing for me because I was like, okay, like we're talking about the same things in many ways, but our actions said something different. And sometimes you avoid having those difficult situations, and that was my case. I avoided having some difficult situations until it was affecting our team. And man, like that really affected, because once we made the decision, I could feel of parting ways, I could feel a whole weight being lifted. And so when you realize that, it's like, why did we take so much time to make a decision like that, when we could have done it and we could have prevented a lot of like pain, obviously, and just like a relationship that we shouldn't have been working with for so long. And then also pain in our team, because they at the end of the day, are a result of their experiences, are a result of our decisions in terms of leadership, right?
Got it. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. I think I've made that mistake a few times and might currently be making that mistake in my life. Who knows?
It's hard,
It
right?
is.
When,
It
like,
is.
yeah,
It's
you
you got
think
to
about it.
confront that, right? And
Yeah.
there's just so many balls you're trying to keep up in the air, and then making the big decisions always gets put in the back burner. It's amazing. Tell us about another mistake you're seeing agency owners make often.
One of the mistakes, it's as you're growing, there's time in the business where you're going to do really good, and there's some times that you're going to do not so good. And I think it's hard, like, especially if you're building your agency, you're getting a lot of great results in the beginning. There's a plateau that you have to realize, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're always going to lose clients, and you're always going to have to like be getting clients. So you cannot really ever get comfortable in any business really, but in digital marketing especially, just because there's so much competition out there, right? So I think being assertive on how you're using your money, the financial aspect, is really important. That's something that I've seen in many agency owners. I've talked to people that grew their businesses to 1 million and just in a year, and then lost it the next year. And I think that's something very difficult to deal with as you're growing. As things are going great, there's a lot of positivity, but we always have to be mindful of just protecting ourselves, and keeping us get to small budget. That's how we like to call it, like being always conscientious of like looking at your finances, reviewing them, and also understanding like what are really the things that are investments, and where is the ego playing a little bit there. So that I think happens to everybody in business, but I think it's definitely interesting to see when you're able to sell, a big course package, or a big thing that it's like 30K. Like, oh wow, like 30K, like that's what people make, in a month, and you sell one package, like in one day, like in maybe in 1 hour, so like that gets really exciting. So just keeping yourself humble, and just back to earth, and like, okay, this is great that I'm having revenue, how can I use this, but how can I save, and just be responsible, because we all have teams that depend on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you're dealing with a lot of these business owners, and they come in to want to work with you, what do they think is the problem they're trying to solve when they hire you guys to help them?
I think a lot of the times is there's so much information out there. That was our problem too, right? There's so many people telling you that you should be doing it this way, or you should be doing it that way. And some of these people, it's the few actually that I've seen that actually have been able to accomplish the stuff that they're preaching. And so being able to talk to people that have that experience, and that are able to like help you navigate those waters, it's one of the things that I think it's the most difficult part. And I believe that having just a well-rounded circle, it's really important. So that's why I think events like TCS are so relevant right now for everybody in this space, because we just went through a lot of stuff in COVID where we were very isolated. Some people are still
Is this the
virtual.
first one you're doing since COVID? The first event like this?
This is the second one
okay.
we're doing since COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having those opportunities to like really break bread with people and just connect at a deeper level to be able to be vulnerable, because nobody wants to go into a Zoom call, sharing all the stuff, how they're messing up, right? And there's so much limited time. But when you go into like an in-person, a type of mastermind, which is what we really love, that gives you the opportunity to have those deeper conversations.
Absolutely. Now, there's a question that I'm really curious about. There's a lot of people who want to sell $30,000 courses, $50,000, $100,000 courses. A lot of people who want to get clients that pay them, $10,000 a month, 15, 20. I've got clients that pay up to $40,000 a month in my agency. Now, a lot of people ask me this question, like, how do you charge those kind of prices? And I want to reflect that question to you. How do you get to the level where you can get a room full of people who are paying tens of thousands of dollars to fly across the world? I know that there's a combination of some marketing, there's trust, there's referrals, but in your perspective, what is the bullseye? What's the KPI that you think drives your ability to charge more?
I think definitely like trust and being the authority. And when I say authority, that sounds to me sometimes very weird, like, oh, like that person is the authority, because at the end of the day, how much can a person know? Like I am not fond of like when people hype things up too much. But when I say authority is like, I think we try to keep it always very real, whether we're winning or losing, like being able to share both sides of the spectrum is what people really need. And so being able to like go to a place where you can find that as like the common foundation for what you're going to be able to find. I think that's why things like TCS, the Commitment Summit in Costa Rica, is so attractive. You're able to connect with people and understand that these speakers have been carefully selected and very curated in terms of like the type of people that they are, how they spend time with the audience, the attendees, and the type of humans too. And so I think like that trust, you can only build it by obviously putting out, like good stuff and doing a good job, but being truthful in anything that you do. And, that's what we try to do.
Amazing. And as for all you listeners, guys, I think I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think that there's also this factor, and I'm Japanese. I grew up in Japan. I sound American. I'm not sure why, but time equals trust. The more time that you've been active, the more time that you've been working with clients, the more time that you've been visible on social media or running events or working with high profile people, the more trust people have that you're not a fly by night person who, woke up one day saying, I need a new business. I should start an agency. It's just, when you're brand new, you haven't put in the time, you haven't put in the reps. And I think that that's a huge driver in trust, and trust equals being able to charge more for what you do, because people value you more. They've seen you deliver over and over for other people, and then they're willing to come in and work with you. And this trust, not only with new customers, but with your current customers, you can keep upgrading them to newer, better services and charge what it's worth because of all the time that you spent working and helping them. So I think that's super valuable. Is there some element of content creation that you can share about, like how you coach your clients to do it or yourself? What are you doing as far as putting out content on any platforms? And could you tell us a bit about that side of what you do?
Yeah, man, that has been super hard for me. I've actually started doing.
But you're so good on camera.
Oh my gosh! Well, thank you. That's very.
You look like a model. Like
Aw.
really, like you got those glasses. I have a feeling, and I hope I don't offend you. I have
No,
a feeling that you actually don't need to wear glasses. You're wearing those glasses because
no,
they're fashion.
I actually, you know what?
Oh, you do?
I was really scared of wearing glasses. I didn't used to wear glasses until last year at the end. And I was just like, I
Yeah.
was squinting too much. I was like, oh, and I finally got a big headache. But when it comes to like
They
content,
look so fashionable, so I thought you're just using them as an accessory.
no, thank you. That's very sweet. No, but I'm glad to hear that. In terms of content, I feel like that's something I've struggled in the past. I've always tried to keep my stuff very private. Again, like coming from the scarcity mindset, right? It was until last year that at one of our masterminds, we were doing a branding and sales mastermind. We had Jen Gottlieb coming to share about, like it being your responsibility to like spread your message and being, in front of people, because at the end of the day, there is 1,000 more others out there that are going to be courageous, they're going to be bold, and they may not even have the results that you can bring for others, but they're going to get those people, your clients, the people you're supposed to serve and help. They're going to get them because they're out there and people don't know you. And so I took that to a heart. I was like, okay, if my focus really is to serve others and help, I need to get out there and I need to be able to like show who I am. So I've been trying to be more disciplined on it. So like whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, just try to show a little bit of what I do and how we do it and what I've learned. And I've really enjoyed actually this journey. I try to put content out there that, there's definitely videos. I think video is so important. So that's why I was so excited to like talk to you, Ken, and everything that you're doing. I think you're helping people make it way easier than, a lot of us are trying to complicate things. So this is really impactful what you're doing. And also through, just like telling stories, that's a big part of my content too, being able to like share my perspective on things, and not that anybody wants to like feel like a diary, that I'm writing a diary, but it just gives people perspectives on, like what we're experiencing, and maybe like even be able to relate to that. And I think that's the best way to feel more together and create that community feeling that we're all, at least I'm personally after.
Amazing. And you're not alone. There are so many people who struggle, especially business owners. They just want to work on the business, and I get this all the time. Like, why do I have to be on camera? Why don't I get so and so and so and so? And here's what's interesting. As a business owner, this, that businesses do funny things sometimes, things out of your control. Like you exit a business. A business could go bankrupt, not because you're a bad leader, but because a political decision or a natural disaster or technology, right? And if you put all of your effort into that one business, then that's okay, but it's not portable equity. So portable equity is what you could take with you into your next career or the next move in your life. But a personal brand is the best investment you can make. And I am so bullish on this, because you could build a personal brand to help your current business. If that business dies, you still have your personal brand that you could take to something else. Like, two great examples of this. Well, three, I think. You got Gary Vaynerchuk. He started with Wine Library TV, right? He was just talking about wine, 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 wine. He's no longer he is a small stakeholder minority, but he's taken that into, his digital agency, and then his sports agency, and now his speaking, right? Same brand, different businesses. Richard Branson, pre-internet, he was doing that, portable equity. He built up his personal brand with Virgin, airlines, trains, hotels, the whole works. And then Elon Musk, probably he's doing it differently, but investors will follow him from business to business because it's him, not because of the idea that he has that he should drill holes in the ground and make tunnels, like that's not exciting, but because it's Elon, people will follow. So, with you, if you build the Karen Hite brand, then people will follow you, whether it's with this agency and, God willing, it will go on for a very long time, or whatever you decide to do after that. And
Absolutely.
I'm preaching to the choir here. It's so important. Tell me about, like, when you're coaching your clients, is there any part of this in the marketing things that that you can share with us? I know that people pay a lot of money to get coached by you, but are there things you could share about content creation that my audience might find some value in?
Yeah, I think like what I've seen the most is that first being scared of doing it. I think that that's the number one obstacle. Like people know that they have to do this. Like we're not telling anybody like something new, yet being scared of like what would people say, like what am I like knowledgeable enough to like say anything? Which that's amazing, to have that understanding. Okay, like that maybe I need to prepare myself a little, or being humble, about where you're at in your journey. I don't think like if you just started learning about something, you should be like the authority for it. But being able to like share, that learning path maybe is a way to connect with people that want to learn about that. So like finding truthful ways to be able to make the jump and just starting, I think it's the biggest issue that people have. So like I really focus on that anytime that I'm talking to anybody. And then just having that accountability of, hey, I need to make sure that this is not when I feel like doing it. This is a schedule. This is part of my job. This is part of my prospecting strategic or strategies that I need to do. And so being consistent and looking at it as a job, it's really important for your business and your brand.
Okay, amazing. And have you had situations where you're coaching your clients about this, and there's let's just say so much resistance that that you had to, say, hey, you got to do this or else. Like, how do you deal with people who are just like, I really don't want to do it? Like, are there other ways that they can be building their personal brand without getting on video, without getting on social media?
So for me, I think like an easy way to start is just like doing posts, doing content like that. You can do it with pictures, you can do something like that. If you don't like to speak, then I mean, like there's so many, like go to Instagram. How many reels do you find of people just like working and they're like, they're spreading, like good content, even like if the video is just about them working. So starting somewhere, I think it's important because it's really difficult to say, hey, today I'm a speaker, I'm going to speak in front of 8,000 people. That doesn't happen that way, right? Similar to, I think, with content, you have to get comfortable because what would happen is that you're starting doing videos and then it's not going to be your true self. You haven't found your voice yet. So I think just like taking baby steps into it, but taking action is super important and just finding a way to do it consistently. So it's not so much about the type of content. You definitely want to do video 100%. Not everybody's ready to do video right away. I know that I wasn't. So like a first step for me was to like start making some written posts. And my first written posts were even like so bad. It was like a one-liner type of thing, until I really got comfortable with like who I was and what I really wanted to like share with people.
Would you mind if I share a tip here about that? Because I think this might really help you. Right now, we're having this conversation. I feel like I'm in the same room as you. You saw the photo of me, like you're literally life size here on my vertical monitor, and you're acting natural. You're expressing yourself. You're smiling. You're talking with your hands, and a lot of times when that disappears when I show up and I hit record. And I used to be a videographer. I used to actually show up and do this. And now you're like, I'm in official robot mode. I'm acting like a robot because I feel awkward, right? So this is what we do with our clients, and it works super well. Is you actually bring on a coach who is going to remotely direct you. And when I say direct, all they do is ask you questions, and you have a conversation, and you answer it. And the editors just take your answers and make that into the content. Because if you have to make a script, then you're dead. When you're in your head, you're dead, right? There's no script. There's just somebody who's genuinely curious about what you're doing. They have kind of an outline of, they know the things you're knowledgeable about, the things that light you up, and they just pitch you the questions. And they might pitch a follow-up question and a follow-up question. And that's the best kind of content, because you're no longer presenting, you're communicating like a real normal human, and that's what feels natural. So if you're listening to this, guys, and you get that urge to, or you get the tendency to get all stiff.
Yeah, that's a great golden nugget, especially now with podcasts, right? Like it's so easy to be able to have these conversations and then just get this content out into a reel. It's so easy to be able to share. And I totally agree. That's a great golden nugget. If anybody that, like it's wanting to get started, if you're listening to this, like this is 100% the way to go.
Awesome. Now, Karen, for people who may not understand how it works, like as far as client acquisition and things like that, and I know because you coach people that you're going to have a pretty solid understanding of this. What's the most basic way, like the chain of events that needs to happen for an agency to acquire a client in the way that you recommend it? Like, for example, in my agency, we have, I'll explain it real simply. We run ads. The ads go to give someone a free gift. Sometimes it's my book, sometimes it's access to a community. And then when they come in, they answer a few questions, and we understand if they're at the stage we can help them. If they are, someone on my team reaches out. I have a call with them, and if we're a good fit, they sign on the dotted line. If we're not, we follow up on them maybe 4, 6, 8 weeks later, and it's that simple. And the reason people come in is because I create a lot of content, and they're like, "That's interesting. I want to learn more." So, if you were to describe your business model for how you help agencies, I'd really like to hear that. What's the linked events?
Yeah. I honestly would change it quite a bit. We're always testing, like what works for people and how we have done I actually have done some presentations on this specifically on what I think it's like the best way to do it. And for me, one of the best ways to do is those agency intensives that I was talking to you about. The conversion's a lot higher. I'm able to create a lot more impact through that. And as a result, they just want to have more, like if you're able to help them in 2 days and you're able to create a great relationship with people, at the end of the day, my job is to be able to generate that trust. And you can only generate trust by building, that exchange of, okay, I have a need, I bring a solution, and I also trust and like the way that you're presenting that solution. So those agency intensives to me have been a great way to connect with people. And then I'm just very proactive about, just doing outreach. So like I add people on Facebook consistently. I talk to people all the time. I most of the times during the week I jump on calls just to get to know people and see how I can be of value, to talk a little bit about what I'm doing. But definitely having a clear a path of where they are at and where do they need to go and what are the steps. Having that understanding as a person that is selling something, it's crucial for you to be able to guide them in that, because not everybody's going to be ready to buy, like you mentioned, right? So you need to be able to understand, okay, there might be, a good fit right now, but they're not ready financially. Like, what are some of the ways that I can still create value, like you're doing with a gift, and just build that relationship. I think if we focus more on building the relationships than just doing sales, from a first interaction, that is going to that's just going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if I'm going to bring it back to, like, if we're to distill this into, like, 5 chunks or something, is your process saying there's really no process? You just got to, keep being present, or do you have like a sequence that you feel is a good starting point for most agencies?
For me, first off is being able to connect with people, add them. I don't have ads running most of the time
Okay.
for specifically for.
But how about for your clients? Like, when your digital agency clients come to you, is there like a marketing method that's a pretty good template that you
Yeah.
use over and
So
over?
we've actually
Let's talk about that.
yeah, we actually put in place this intensives as part of like the
intensives.
the
That's the
yeah,
conversion mechanism.
that is really the
So how do you get people? So what happens first? What's the first they ever hear about you? Is it an ad? Is
so
it
the
organic social
first
media?
Yeah, so the first thing, like just like anything, right? You have to have something that they want to connect you with, right? So like either if you're doing like social media content is like number one, right? Like that's a must. Like if you're not doing ads, you can still get by as long as you're doing consistent content that is adding value to others. If you're doing that, there's no way like somebody's going to like go and follow you. You're gonna pop up into the right people, because that's just like how social media goes. And then also like adding people consistently, that has been really helpful for me. So being proactive about that outreach. If you have the money to do ads and you're able not only like have the money in terms of like just having cash, but the right budget to be able to make really good impact with that, 100% do it, right? The thing that a lot of business owners face when they're getting started with their strategies is that they don't have the budget for ads. So this is a very organic way of being able to get that audience, and then being able to like build that email list. It's super important for me at least. That's what I've seen. Once you have all that information, you can call them, you can text message them, you have them in social media so they can see all this stuff about you, and then having opportunities for you to connect with them that are building that trust. So like it can be a virtual, so like we do a lot of like virtual challenges. It can be an in-person event where they have to like actually spend money to like get there, but after they have seen your content and how you're helping them, that helps it too. Or you can just have like conversations and like create like quizzes, and like there's so many strategies to be able to connect with people and build that trust. But adding value at any point, because it really depends. I think like my strategy once I get connected with somebody is to, how can I add value to this person today? And not everybody's going to be able to like go to an event, but maybe you can like send something to them, like a lead magnet, or like an SOP that helps them out, and yeah, it's just building that relationship.
I feel like you are you're like a ball of energy, and you have 100 different, and you're a Swiss Army knife at the same time. I get the feeling that if I hang out with you in person, then you're gonna have a solution and an answer and a strategy for almost everything, and you're like the go-to hub. Am I wrong?
I really just love solutions, like finding solutions. I really love problems. I think that's why I love CRMs, just like I like to take like, okay, what is the problem here and how we can find a way to systemize that and make it so. Yeah, like I mean, like I love problem solving. So if that's the case, if you have any problems, you can come to me and we can like try to brainstorm on solutions together.
Okay, I want to shift a little bit into the future. And, as a business owner, one of our jobs is to always be looking out for what's coming up next. What threats are there? What opportunities are there? What's going to become obsolete? And could you share a little bit of your idea or your thinking around anything that you see that might be coming up around the horizon? I know that since November last year, Chat GPT has affected digital agencies in a big way and many, many industries at that. But have you guys been jumping in or kind of sitting back and waiting? Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I was just chatting about this specific topic in my previous call. And in the moment, like, so I'm also one of those people that I'm very cautious, like with shiny objects. Like I just like hate to get distracted. So like when it first came out, I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna let everybody else, like work with it and whatnot. Like I don't want to like invest in shiny objects and things like that. So it was funny because I actually came a long way. Like now I actually use it. I'm not the best at it by any means, but I find that it's a great tool to brainstorm, to like get me for the things that I don't need to be creative in, just like finding those answers and creating solutions for those and just like moving a lot quicker. So I think 100% being able to be open to and using discernment, the things that you need to like focus and learn, it's one thing. And I think also just being proactive about finding ways to save money for your team and yourself. It's always important because if you can create efficiencies in your business, so where you can like increase the revenue and profitability, really not revenue but profitability of your teammates, like that just allows you, especially as we're facing some things in the economy. You never know what's happening. People talk about recession. Some people say that we're not. Either way, I think just like that's a healthy thing to do. It's just like, how can I be more efficient with what I'm doing? And whether that is like AI, leveraging that, or just creating processes that allows, your team to focus even better, maybe going even virtual, it's the thing. Like for us, that's being able to adapt. It's a big thing.
One thing I found for me is, and this is like on the most basic level, I think for you too, you have quite an international team, right? Like a lot of people from Latin America, South America, including yourself. And then you probably have some people like more like that grew up and were educated in the US. And up until now, we've kind of had this barrier. I have a lot of people on my team. I've got someone in Canada, in the US, Japan, and the Philippines. That's where we're spread out in those 4 countries. And my team in the Philippines, they're really great and they're actually producing the show. But you can kind of tell, like when they're writing, it doesn't, if I'm writing to my US audience, it doesn't sound like somebody who grew up in the US. And just for the simple reason of communicating with clients and doing my social media, you run it through Chat GPT, and a simple thing like make it sound like it's an American that composed this, same message. And we've just erased this barrier of this kind. I would say it's an accent, but in writing, right? And people feel much more comfortable reading that. And conversely, it could happen the other way. I could say, make this sound like a Filipino wrote this if I'm trying to reach a Filipino audience or an Indian audience or something. And they'll use different words, like they'll say sir a lot more or something. So it's these little things that I started with. But I've got friends who have started businesses just based on this, where it's actually, okay, for example, I have a client, he's got 11,000 videos of training inside of his online portal. And what he did is he programmed an app to behave just like him, to and actually transcribed every single one of his 1 hour trainings that he has. And any question that anybody has, his bot will conversationally answer it based on the 1,100 videos that he's recorded in the past. That's it. And it does a really, really good job. It's like, how do you do this? It's like, great. In this video, I talked about this, and this is how we solve that issue. Da, 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 da. And you could ask contextual questions. It's just mind blowing. So there's just so many different degrees they could get into it. Do you see this as a threat to certain types of agencies?
I think I think the only reason why this would be a threat if you don't believe that your team is able to grow. I think when we look at things that are scary to us is because we don't understand them. Um, and I'm coming like from myself, right? Like I don't understand it. So like, why would I like that's just annoying. But being able to like leverage tools, I don't think that this tool is going to um, take people from their jobs. I think it's just going to make us be able to be more efficient. And like if you can help your team to like, oh, not be so stressed, about deadlines, and just encourage them, like use this tool and like make this help you to actually get to your house, at a decent time and like on time, just it can create, I think, a lot of flexibility and again efficiencies for your business. So I don't think this should be a threat to any business owner or teammates. I think we should encourage each other to like use this tool to improve the service that we're providing our clients, and then the lifestyles that we can are able to get by saving time.
Amazing. I've got to wrap this up in a couple of minutes, but before we do, and we're going to share this to my 7,000 listeners live on Facebook in the group. And then also we get about 2,000 weekly downloads. We're still growing. We're a small podcast,
Yeah.
but if anyone here, and most of my listeners, by the way, are business owners who want to get into, they want to grow their business using some kind of content creation. If anybody here wants to find out more about how to work with you or anything about you guys, about these events you run, what's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. You can go to theheites.com. So the heights, like the heights, HITES. You can go find us there. We have information about JC and myself and just how to connect, or just find me on Facebook. I'm always looking to talk to agency owners, especially. But if you're a business owner in general, I feel like we're all facing the same thing. And hopefully I can help you with some marketing experience there. So yeah, reach out to me on Facebook. I'm always trying to answer as soon as I can.
Thank you so much, Karen. I really enjoyed having this conversation. And what I especially love about this is how down to earth this one was. And uh, I think that as visionaries, a lot of us entrepreneurs forget that, let's just be human and not talk about how you're going to change the world sometimes, but just also about like, hey, this is life and this is normal. And we just got to, sometimes I think 90% of the time we're just trying to figure out how to get through, our current goal in the day and the tasks. And you've helped me get a bit more grounded with the conversation you had with me. So I want to say I appreciate you. And I think the audience, we've had a little bit of a different style this time. I think they're going to appreciate it too, having things mixed up just a little bit. When I say mixed up, I mean changed up, not mixed up in a bad way. Karen, any last words of advice you have for business owners, agency owners who are listening to this?
To definitely jump on video. If you have learned something about this, it's like you need to take action. And Ken does an amazing job at helping people do this, not only with his tools, but his experience and his content. So thank you so much, Ken, for inviting me to your podcast. I really enjoyed this, and having this chat is definitely a highlight in today. So I'm really excited to be able to connect with your audience, but especially with you. And coming soon in Costa Rica too, I'm so excited to be able to spend more time together.
I'm excited too. I can't wait to see you again in person. Guys, I really do recommend, we're going to drop links down below to Karen's social media and also to the events they run. You really do want to get in touch and see what they're all about. They're a really cool bunch. Karen, thank you so much. And to everybody else, I'll see you next time.